We always say that we should focus on two things, right? What do we say and what do we do? Right?
Mhm.
I think situations will present themselves, but how we react to them is on us, right? We can't really manage the situations, but reaction we can.
Yeah.
And I think we try to be more focused on, hey, let's make sure that we are,
Mm.
adhering to our plan and
Yeah.
what is it that what our charter has been from day one.
Yeah. Control what you can control, and the rest you figure it out when it comes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My guests here today is Venus and Vishal Bhasin, who are co-founders of Wise Computing Academy. Welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Having this over.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys here today. First of all, for our conversation, but second of all, you guys are actually the first call that I'll be having, which is the two co-founders together. So I'm excited to have that dynamic. But tell everyone a little bit more about Wise Computing Academy, who you guys are, what you do, who you help, and any context about the business.
Go
Sure,
ahead.
Shall you want to take a lead here?
Sure, I can if you want. So certainly. So by the way, thank you for having us. We are, a pleasure to be here and to also know you as well. I think,
Thank you.
yeah, this is something we are certainly excited about. We are a children enrichment education company. We focus on ages 4 to 18. So we are a preschool to high school program.
Hmm.
We focus on project based STEAM enrichment, which is coding, robotics, and design. And we sort of reach out to students both in person and online. We do
Hmm.
it through partnerships with educational institutions like schools, preschools, community centers. And we were formed in early 2015. So it's been over 10 years now.
Hmm.
And we are a husband wife pair. And we started here in Dallas, Texas, and we decided that to scale up, we chose the route of franchising, and we became a franchisor in late 2018. We awarded our first franchise in 2019,
Hmm.
and currently we are sort of growing in US and Canada, so North America. We have 37 locations here, including the corporate owned unit, which is where we still are, and Venus spearheads that location. So
Yeah,
that's my
awesome.
side, Venus. Anything you wanted to add that I missed?
I think you covered it all. And we love what we do. We are not educators by profession, so this is something that we've kind of um incorporated with our passion of about technology and working with young learners.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit more about the origin story, how this came through. You mentioned you were not educators by trade or by choice. How does that even come about? What made you want to start this business?
Sure. I can kind of give a first stab at that. It all started with our oldest, who's now a sophomore. At that time, she was in kindergarten,
Okay.
where she was always very intrigued by seeing both mom and dad, always looking at the computer screen. So she was like, "What do you do?" So that's how we felt that her interest is developing in technology, how things are done, rather than just being a consumer.
Hmm.
That's where the thought process kind of we grew on that concept of how about we bring in STEM education for young learners. And there were at that point, 10 years back, there were not many organizations, not many locations that could actually cater to the interest
Hmm.
of a kindergartner, 5 or 6 year old. So that's where we kind of took a plunge. Um, Started this business in our media room, with a test bed of our kids, of our friends, and here we are.
That's so awesome. And when it comes to, obviously, you mentioned you're partnering with schools, directly with families, and things like that. Um, how does that usually come about? How are people finding out about you guys? Are you going to the schools? Are you is it a lot of word of mouth? People who love what you do that tell more people about it. Where does those where does that relationship usually start with people who go through Wise Computing Academy?
Sure. So it's I want to say in this day and age, it's all of the above.
Okay.
Right? Like every small business, we rely a lot on community, a lot on the word of mouth, but
Hmm.
also marketing as well, right? So
Hmm.
both inbound and outbound, right?
Hmm.
So whether it is digital or in person, right, we are fairly active. All our leaders are usually quite active in their
Hmm.
communities. They participate many times in the PTAs as well.
Okay.
So both inbound and outbound, and also digital, right? This day and age, you
Yes.
can't do anything that's not digital. So whether it is online through our website,
Hmm.
whether that is through social media, or collaboration with various institutions that we work
Hmm.
with. So I'd say it's all of the above, but the key takeaway is we want it to be very community focused,
Hmm.
right? We are fairly spread out, and we will continue to grow, in variety of different places, but each individual location is very much community connected,
Hmm.
centered around the student. So it's really very much, distributed, but really very also very localized, because every individual unit acts, excuse me, very independently as well.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
the idea, you've heard this term many times, right? Think global, act local. It's really putting that into work,
Hmm.
where we want to build an approach, a curriculum,
Hmm.
how we do things, what we do from a pedagogy standpoint,
Hmm.
that can really address the needs of students all over.
Hmm.
But we want to make sure that we do it in a very local way.
Interesting. It sounds like it's as you said, that community, that local sense. It sounds like everything is in person. Is that correct, or is there any form of online or hybrid as well going on within the business?
Right. So I would say most of our classes today are in person, but we do have sessions online.
Hmm.
Pre-COVID, we were mostly in person, very little online. In COVID, we were 100% online.
Hmm.
Now we've gone back to mostly in person, but online has become a much more viable option
Hmm.
today
Yeah.
than what it was pre-COVID, right?
Hmm.
The key point to take here is, irrespective of whether we are online or in person, it's always instructor led.
Hmm.
So in education, you can view education as asynchronous or synchronous,
Yeah.
right? Asynchronous are people like you and I, we go to YouTube to learn, like everybody goes to YouTube to learn stuff, or Udemy or other websites where you can just
Hmm.
consume content and learn from it.
Hmm.
That's asynchronous. But synchronous is where you have somebody, you have a teacher, you have somebody who's helping you, whether that is online or in person. So our focus is on synchronous. We deal with young kids. We want to make sure that they have the support they need and also have healthy competition. So we like
Hmm.
small cohorts in synchronous teaching.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think especially now with so many distractions that kids can go through nowadays, asynchronous. Obviously, there's benefits and pros and cons to both,
100%.
but there's always going to be like that little the TikTok on the side or the Instagram on the side that they just want to go to. So I like that, and I also like the competitive aspect. As someone who is fairly competitive myself, I knew that every time when I was learning anything as a kid, if there was any competition, healthy competition, as you said, it always drove me to want to learn more, to get better, to do all
Yeah.
these things. And consequentially, it drove everybody else to also want to be
That's
involved with everything.
Yeah. And the teacher, for the most part, needs to be a coach, a guide.
Hmm.
Because if you think about it, if you're working in cohort, you're going to learn more from each other than you're going to learn from teacher,
Yeah.
right? So the teacher should be a facilitator, a guide, a coach, but the students, we need to provide a platform where they feel very easy to express themselves, to feel like they're learning without even realizing that they're learning. I think that's
Yeah.
the key thing.
Yeah.
If we can continue to create that kind of environment, I think
Hmm.
it's a very healthy way for kids to learn.
Yeah. It becomes automatic for them, which is awesome. Which
That's
oh,
right.
so awesome.
That's right.
I'm wondering. Obviously, you guys now have a great business, but as any businesses, there's always ups and downs and peaks and troughs and everything that's going on. So as you guys were building the company, what were some of the challenges that you faced in the beginning, and how do they differ from the challenges that you have now in the company?
um, sure. I can answer the question, at least some part of it.
Sure.
I guess the biggest challenge was how do you scale,
Hmm.
and also at the same time not compromise on the quality.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge that we had, because in a scope when we started, things were a lot under control, but as we kind of started growing, those were few things that we had to really ponder around. How do we enforce that? Um, and again, we that's something that we closely worked on to make sure that as we expand, as we scale, the quality does not get compromised. The processes that we brought in into our company, the tools that we use, the stringencies that we kind of follow on our having the instructors. How do you make sure that instructors have good trainings that are provided, professional development days. So those were few ways in which we kind of circumvented that problem. But the start of it, that was a very big question mark.
And what about I'm always curious to learn about that, taking that step into into the fear, like despite the fear, like, hey, I just gotta do this anyways. What was that process of thinking that you guys were going through? I was like, okay, we have something great, but we now want to start scaling. These are the things that we have to do. And despite the fear, despite the hesitation, despite the doubt, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this.
All right.
Right. So I would say that, um, to Venus's point, right, to make sure that we continue to be focused on what our core strengths are, right?
Mm,
Ultimately, what do? We are providing a platform for an high quality project based team enrichment education. So the fact that we decided to not have a brick and mortar,
mhm,
and utilize existing infrastructure to give our classes, whether that's in person or online, and partnering with schools, preschools, I think that was really in the same direction, where we didn't want to get bogged down by real estate and building, and
yeah.
that's not the core of, that's not why we started this. We
Yeah.
started this because we wanted to, we felt that this education is super important for kids.
Hmm.
They should learn that, and we felt that schools need some help in that aspect,
Mm,
right? So making those critical decisions, so that in using Jeff Bezos' words, right? Focus on what makes your beer taste better, right?
yeah.
As opposed to try to do many things. I think that sort of helps with keeping the focus on. And quite frankly, as we bring new franchises on board, Venus was talking about training.
Hmm.
It really comes down to making sure that everybody has, identified those big rocks,
Hmm.
and we know exactly what those two, three things are that we want to focus on, right?
Mm,
This, that when you become a new business owner, you can do 1,000 things,
yeah.
but help them identify those top two, three things and focus on that. So I think having that focus
Hmm.
is certainly the most important thing, and making it super easy. Processes, curriculum,
Hmm.
approaches, creating a platform around that. I think that's really to make it easy, so people can be very focused on
Hmm.
exactly what we are doing.
I think that's so important. Yeah. I think focus is such a big thing that gets overlooked for so many businesses, because there are so many things that they can do. It's like, okay, how do I do all of them? But if you do all of them, you do none of them. So
Right.
how do you fix on those things? Right. So I find that really awesome. So thanks for sharing that. And as you guys are looking to keep the business growing, what are some of the challenges that you face now? As opposed to obviously the procedural and the fears from when you were coming up.
Okay. The biggest challenge I feel is how our technology is evolving. You know, um, Artificial intelligence is a very good use case for that
Yeah.
aspect of it. How machines are kind of are giving you the answers. How do you leverage that to your advantage? How what is it that we can do to keep our learners abreast and get them ready for the jobs of tomorrow? Because the jobs of tomorrow are not the same that when I was in school versus my kids are in school. The equations have completely changed.
Hmm.
So keeping abreast with the current times, I feel, is the biggest aspect of it, that we're always pondering and making sure that we're always current with the times
Hmm.
uh, right now.
That's interesting. So would you say that I guess the obstacles and things that are always knocking on the door are more so in the internal operation side of things, of how you continue to innovate, continue to adapt, as opposed to bringing on more students, more customers, and that side of the business?
So
I,
I think one. Go ahead, Vishal.
I was just going to add by saying that I think the challenges are always there, internal and external. I think it really comes down to us working together internally and saying, hey, what are the things that we want to sort of put focus on?
Mhm.
External challenges, I think, could be that, hey, as we grow and get into a new state or a new location, there may be subtle differences from, where we understand, what our sweet spot is,
Yeah.
what kind of areas we excel in. We try to focus on that, but of course there's always going to be things that you never planned for, right?
Hmm.
That's always going to be the case. So this, I think, challenges are certainly both internal and external, but the idea really is, we have charted out a path for ourselves. This is how
Yeah.
we want to grow. This is how we want to be show thought leadership in what we are doing.
Hmm.
And what all things do we need to do? So Venus was alluding to, hey, we want to make sure that we demonstrate thought leadership on the curriculum aspect.
Hmm.
That's challenging because things are moving at rocket speed right now,
Yeah.
right? With new models of AI coming in almost every week, and so much of technological changes that are happening.
Hmm.
It's I think it's a challenge that we can use as an opportunity because we
Yeah.
come from a tech industry, we are engineers. We were taught to solve problems, right?
Hmm.
So I think that helps there, but I would never discount that. There's always things that are happening around us externally, and then of course internally.
That's so awesome. I think that just goes back to focus. What you focus on. It's like, yeah, the challenges are going to be there. Are you going to focus on the challenge that's kind of like brushing across you all the time, or are you going to focus on the opportunity from those challenges?
Right.
I
And
like.
also, I think in many ways, can we convert them to opportunities, right?
Yep.
Not all challenges can be converted to opportunities, right? So, we always say that we should focus on two things, right? What do we say and what do we do, right?
Mhm.
I think situations will present themselves, but how we react to them is on us, right? We can't really manage the situations, but reaction we can.
Yeah.
And I think we try to be more focused on, hey, let's make sure that we are, you know,
Mm.
adhering to our plan and what
Yeah.
what is it that what our charter has been from day one.
Yeah. Control what you can control, and the rest you figure it out when it comes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, pretty much. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. I have a couple more questions here for you guys, and one of them is a question that I've been asking everybody. I think it allows uh, all business owners and leaders to kind of just take that ceiling up and just think whatever they want to think. So we'll start with that question, which is, let's say both of you just had a magic wand, and one for the both of you, not one each. So just one magic wand for the business, and you could wave this wand and just solve one thing, maybe one challenge, one obstacle, whatever it might be in the business that would make you hitting a lot of your growth goals much easier. What would the one thing be?
Hmm. I
Uh,
wish we have two.
Me too.
or, or maybe a few, right? But
Yeah.
while Venus is thinking, I would say that really, um, as we get into new markets and things like that, I think there's a lot of consistency that we bring in because we
Mm,
are consistently growing, and our processes and procedure and platform, it's sort of very similar as we grow, but there are discrepancies in even within the US, right? State to state is
mhm,
different. As you grow outside of US, in Canada, it's different, right? So I think if we could have means of determining those discrepancies
mm,
in a much better way, so we can certainly we instead of being reactive, be proactive on
mhm.
discrepancies. I think that would be sort of a that's the one that comes to my mind. I'll let Venus.
Yeah. How about you, Venus?
I'm going to put my operations hat on in this, bit, and I would say if there is anything that I could do is use the current technology and know-how in making sure that the execution in each classroom is consistent.
Hmm.
So that way, across the board, there is as much you do, the moment that you have, a personal element as well, there
Mhm,
could always be variations in the quality that is being executed.
mhm.
And I'll take example of my own kids. One year they really like their teacher who teaches science, and second year they're like, I don't like science anymore. I was like,
Yeah, it gets more difficult. Yeah.
so what has changed is the person who's teaching them, how the content is being,
Yeah.
conveyed to them. And I feel it's not just the content aspect execution, it's also the person aspect of it.
Mhm.
You like it or not, but that aspect always comes in the equation. And especially when you're working with kids at a very impressionable age, the
Mhm.
person who's conveying the message has a strong role to play. And I'm sure you're able to relate to a lot of your instructors or teachers that played such a great role in where
Yeah.
you are today, right?
Another
So
percent.
that element, if I could add to the operations, I feel that would be a turnkey.
Mm.
Because over a period of 10 years, I have seen kids who entered the classroom saying, I don't think I can do it, versus they leave the classroom, they have exceeded, they've participated in competition, they've gotten great testimonials to validate how good they are.
Yeah.
I feel if I could create that aspect of it, that person aspect is not a variable, is a constant.
Mm.
I feel that would be a great thing for me.
I like that. I like that. I like both of those answers. Maybe there's a way to figure out and put them together. And then final question that I have for you guys is actually not a question from me. It's a question from our last guest to you, and they had no idea who you were. You ready for the question?
Sure.
So the question is, there are often quiet burdens of being a transformative leader. If there is anything that you would like to say out loud, of anything of those burdens that you'd like to say out loud, what would that one thing be?
Yeah, I can think of one. I mean, so being an entrepreneur, you gotta do everything. You are the janitor, you are the CEO. Maybe in the same hour, right?
Hmm.
Um, there are aspects of business that you may not like to do, but you have to do them so you can do the things that you really like to do. So I think you have to do things you don't want to do so that you can do things that you really want to. And and that is certainly an aspect that any entrepreneur has to embrace. And it can be sort of frustrating at times that you feel like you only have so much time, and you're doing things that's really not affecting the bottom line, or you're doing things that really is not going to be fruitful to add to what you want to do in future,
Hmm.
but you still have to do it, right? If you don't do that, then it's not done, right? So I think there are certainly those things that people have to just come in with their eyes open and know that you'll have to do difficult things, and things that you may not want to, so you can do things that you want to.
Hmm. Awesome. Anything you'd like to add there, Venus? Or
I feel for me, creating that kind of a setup of being the role model or the transformative leader is would be creating a balance between being empathetic and also being someone who's keeping a close eye on your goals
Mm.
and maintaining that as aspect of it. Because when you're working with the team, when you're kind of the role model, people are looking at you, of course, as a person who's going to help them enable to reach their goals. But there's also the human side of it. They're also looking at that, so striking that balance and kind of keeping uh, I would say showing them that both of these are equally important is something that will help you.
Okay, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time. This has been such a great conversation. Where should people go if they want to learn a little bit more about you, or maybe a little bit more about Wise Computing Academy?
Sure. Our website is wizeacademy.com, WYZE academy.com. You can also find us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Just search for Wise Academy, also YouTube. And our contact information is on our website. And, just Google Wise Academy or Wise Computing Academy, you'll get to it.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it.